Good morning, everyone. My name is MightyStream, and I am going to do our March the 6th, just for today, in a meditation. Hope you're doing well this morning. The title of the meditation is Rationalizing Away Our Recovery. As a result of the 12 steps, I'm not able to hold on to old ways of deceiving myself. We all rationalize. Sometimes we know we are rationalizing, admit we are rationalizing, yet continue to behave according to our rationalizations. Recovery can become very painful when we decide that for one reason or another, the simple principles of the program don't apply to us. With the help of our sponsor and others in NA, we can begin to look at the excuses we use for our behavior. Do we find that some principles just don't apply to us? Do we believe that we know more than everyone else in Narcotics Anonymous, even those who have been clean for many years? What makes us think that we're so special? There's no doubt we can successfully rationalize our way through part of our recovery. But eventually, we must squarely face the truth and start acting accordingly. The principles in the 12 steps guide us to a new life in recovery. There's little room for rationalization there. Just for today, I cannot work the steps and also continue deceiving myself. I will examine my thinking for rationalizations, reveal them to my sponsor, and be rid of them. Let's take a moment of silence, followed by the we version of the Serenity Prayer. Moment of silence now, please. Thank you, God. Grant us the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Just for today, please, and thank you. What a wonderful meditation, talking about rationalizing away our recovery. That's a powerful title for a meditation, because when I think about rationalizing, I see it more as rationalizing certain behaviors. I would never think of it as rationalizing something such as the whole of my recovery, right? That's a big statement. But when we think about it, isn't that why people let go of recovery in many ways? How people slip back out the door? It's that some level of justification or rationalization for their behavior took place. It became okay, in other words, for them, let's say, to not make meetings on a regular basis, to not have a sponsor, to be in the program of recovery and not working the very things that build up the structure of it, which is the 12 steps. A lot of people do this. And so I thought, man, that is a huge statement to talk about rationalizing away one's recovery. And I think we probably all do this in one form or another. So let's go. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about what things have I personally, you personally, what things have we rationalized that if we don't check them right now could become barriers to our life of recovery. For me, it would be, I would say maybe for me personally, it would be intolerance. I'm finding that I'm becoming less and less tolerant of, I don't know, I wouldn't say everyone, but in my mind, when I'm engaging an individual and they're talking, and I see that they have some level of stigma connected to, it could be race or religion or gender. Those are like the top three that I can say in my mind, that when I sense that a person is being very judgmental, um, let's say racist, but in a sense, what I'm saying, that their level of cultural sensitivity isn't where I would like it personally to be, I become intolerant. And even though I can see their lips moving, my mind is not with them, right? I'm not listening to them anymore because I've already shut them off. And in the back of my head, I'm thinking, I cannot wait to get out of your presence. I'm about to vomit, literally, listening to you say whatever you're saying, and you just seem not to even be aware of the fact that you're not being culturally sensitive. You're not showing love. And it may not be directed at me. It could be directed at a group of people. I don't know why people think I'm a sounding board for BS, right? And so I become intolerant and have become intolerant. But we know that that can be a problem in recovery, right? And so I need to go back to the basics in that regard. And I'm not saying I need to tolerate nonsense. I'm just saying that my mind is judging, like, don't you know better? And that's not my place. Now, if I don't want to stand there and listen, I can always say, you have to excuse me. I have something that I need to tend to, right? Rather than enduring the situation or waiting till I can break in and say something until they take a breath and I can say something. It sounds like you need to work on. That's not my place to tell them what I think. They haven't even asked me a question. Now they're sucking up my time. So that would kind of give me a passageway into expressing that I think they sound ridiculous, right? But for me, that's an area I know that can push me away from humanity, that can push me away from other people, because I'm far more tolerant with my nonsense than theirs. Okay. And that's just an example. Okay. So don't judge me too hard. I'm just trying to come up with an example of what I believe would be an area that could eventually become a problem if I don't check it right now. Right. And so I'm giving breath to it because it's important for me to say that I noticed this is taking place. All right. Now, so how about you? What are some things you are doing that are causing you to enter into this mode of rationalizing your recovery away? Could it be the way that you talk to people? You know, some people believe in, they just got to be so bluntly honest that no one wants to be bothered with them. Everything is an argument, right? They always have to make their point and will overtalk you in the process of doing it. Are you like that? Why is that something that can cause you to rationalize away your recovery? Because in the program, we care and we share with gratitude. This is called the NA way, right? And so when we're interacting with anyone, but especially one another in recovery, but with anyone, we already know that we share the time, right? We already know that we try to use, right, the three spiritual principles of honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. We try to do that. There's nothing open-minded about having to have the last say all the time. There's nothing open-minded about having to overtalk people all the time, right? And so we're learning that we share the time, but we also carry the message with gratitude. We speak in a manner that shows that we have gratitude. Right? I'm just trying to give you some ideals because it's fine to read these meditations together, right? I love that. But if they're not impacting you in a way, because this space that we have called the Just for Today meditation, it pulls in so much from other pieces of literature that we have at our access, right? So we get a lot of information in here, but a lot of times we are not really, truly, honestly willing to apply the things that we're learning early in the morning here. And I think that's the next place I want to go. I have a lot of knowledge. And now I'm talking about not just literature. I have a lot of knowledge that could, if I could apply what I know, it would make my life, my recovery so much sweeter. And I think the same for you. So today, we know that we can't work the steps and continue to deceive ourselves. There is no room for rationalization in recovery. You ever have somebody show up at your doorstep unexpectedly? And you're like, you have my number? I never, ever suggested that my house was a drive-by, drop through. You know me well enough to know that if you don't arrange to visit me, don't drop by. I do not do unexpected visitors. Well, I'm not the only person in this house, but generally speaking, that's a rule that this whole house goes by. No one is allowed to enter into our safe zone without permission. Period. It's more of a safety measure than anything else. I'm not that quirky. I mean, I would love my house to be, spectacular, but it's not, right? It's lived in. This is a family with all males. I'm the only female in this house, right? And so their ideal of cleaning, my boys versus mine, is different, right? And so my thing is that rationalization shows up sometimes uninvited in our house of recovery or at our house of recovery. And you have to check that at the door. Check all the bags at the door. You have to check, right? Rationalization at the door. Why? Because if you allow it to enter into your home of recovery, it will set up and take a room, take a space, make a place for itself without really your permission because you gave it entryway. We all know people sometimes they come by and they're just trying to kill time. They're just trying to figure out if you're going to offer them a couch to sleep on. We know that. We know that they're just dropping by to see if they can get a free meal, something to eat, get out of the cold. We all have experienced that. We've probably done it ourselves, an act of addiction. Not wanting to be out in the cold all night or trying to figure out where you can pitch a tent and sleep. When you have relatives and you just, let me drop by and check on them and see if maybe I can get warm, if I can maybe take a shower. There's people that do that in their own families. And before you know it, they're worn out their welcome. And that's rationalization. It just shows up because it knows you. Matter of fact, all the stuff that goes against our recovery just shows up because it knows you. It's familiar with you. It knows that you have character defects that you not addressed because it's you. You show up at your own door of recovery with your own rationalization, and then you set up house in your own home of recovery. And that tendency of being, given to rationalization takes over your whole house. It spreads all out. You ever have a person you say, use this room while you're here, but they have stuff all in the living room. And I mean, they just take over the whole house, disregarding the space of others. You show up with your own rationalization at your own home of recovery and you spread out. First, you start with not making meetings, then you move to not calling your sponsor, then you move to not doing anything. And you've turned your whole life of recovery, your whole home of recovery over to rationalization. Don't do that today. Don't do that today. Examine your thinking and your rationalizations, reveal them to your sponsor and get rid of them. Kick it out. Kick it out. Kick it out. It doesn't belong. There's never any room for rationalization, even though we are all familiar with it and all do it from time to time. Let's not today. My name is MightyStream. I've enjoyed talking to you. I hope that you will have a beautiful day on purpose.